We are, oh my god, no, we are not doing, no, we are not starting off a stream like that. We're not doing that, come on, guys.
I start my streams off like that.
We don't start. Yes, we don't, okay. We are not starting off a stream like that, that's not happening, and that's not. Also, hello, Pi, how's it going, mate? How are you? I hope everyone's doing well, by the way. I'm able to talk again today. I didn't think I was going to be able to talk, but now I'm able to talk. So talk.
Walkie-talkie?
Yes.
The walkie-talkie.
The walkie-talkie. We walkie and the talkie. Now a twonk. Can we get a twonky? Can we? You know, what was like the food? It was like a what was it, like a twonk? What was it?
Twinkie?
Twinkie. Yes, I want a Twinkie.
Ew.
What's wrong with Twinkies?
They're disgusting.
I don't know. Kamichi sounds like she wants one. Or they want one. I don't know. Kamichi wants one. Twinkies are nice. I like Twinkies. Oh. Still doesn't say that. Still means you want it. You want it. 100%. I'm a Twinkie. Well, no.
Like that.
You're not a Twinkie. No. Only I can claim to be one. I am now a Twinkie. Ah, shit. Now I'm gonna get insulted by that shit.
To be an incredibly unhealthy food product that people want to eat.
I feel like people are gonna call me Twink now.
Well, if that does occur, you brought it on yourself.
I did bring it on myself, and I have all the regrets. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, glad your voice is back. I am back. Hello. Well, not. Not at 100 though. I'm not at 100 yet. I'm back though. Back enough to actually be recognizable. Unlike yesterday, where I didn't stream because I literally could not talk, or the day before that, where I sounded like a cowboy.
I just glitched the level.
Stop that.
I didn't mean to. It just
doesn't sue many fan games and some emulators. They sue for if a fan game or emulator is causing a source. It isn't directly impacting Nintendo. I'm gonna be honest, the only reason they're suing Palworld is because it's the first actual contender. It's the actual, in my opinion, first competition Pokemon has actually had. As much as people say Digimon is, and everything else is, let's be honest, they're not reaching the same occult claim as Pokemon. Palworld was on everyone's lips. Everyone was talking about it. All the streamers were playing it. Everyone had it on their thing. It was one of the most played games when it came out. And it was a smash success. And it was on console, and it was on fucking PC. It was everywhere. And it played better than the new Pokemon at the time, which was Scarlet and Violet. So, in a weird way...
It still plays better than Scarlet and Violet, let's be honest.
So, my point about it is this. It is, in my opinion, the first actual competitor. Like, if Nintendo doesn't nip it in the butt as it stands, and they get enough work on it, and enough support to it, I'm gonna be straight up honest. Fucking Nintendo will probably have actual competition. Like, say a big company were to straight up buy fucking like Palworld's development team, like they'd have an IP pretty well known. Like honestly, I'd say if either Microsoft or Sony buys Palworld, they'd have something to actually compete with Nintendo with when it comes to Pokemon, which would be actually kind of interesting. But yeah, that's why I was like, Pokemon Palworld's gonna die. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it will die. I feel like it's highly unlikely. From the amount of money they've made, they could probably survive whatever hit Nintendo's gonna happen, but it's just gonna hurt their development as a process, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't see them completely dying.
Away.
It's also taking resources away, which I also know is a bad thing. But in my opinion, I don't think it's going to ultimately kill Palworld. Because if it does, then I feel like they have all the rights to sue for monopoly at that point. In that case, I think it actually go through. Because you actually just straight up killed another competitor. And it's not even via like competition-wise. You just straight up sued them to death. It is.
I really do think the funny part to me about all this is every time Nintendo has challenged something like this in court, they have never actually gotten to court.
So why Fuji's not working? Give me a second. I don't know why Fuji's aren't working. No, keep going. Yeah, I'll get your Fuji's up.
The Fuji.
Fuji, why? Why Fuji? Fuji, you bad Fuji. Where the fuck are you?
Fuji.
Yes. Fuji. Where the fuck is the Fuji's? Fuck you. Where'd I fucking... You know it's bad when you can't remember where you put them.
Did you eat them?
No, I haven't been filed. It's just... Oh shit, I might have actually gotten rid of it by accident. Holy shit. Give me a second.
You did eat them.
I might have actually eaten them. Holy shit.
Yeah, I knew you were hungry, but damn.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah, look at this. He got so hungry he actually ate his Fujis.
Nintendo wins and they have no one challenge them to be better. If they lose, the rep will tank harder than Logan Paul. I mean, it's already tanking, let's be honest. Like, let's be honest. Even by doing the lawsuit, you've lost rep with people. This is how it works. You can't just sue the other company just because they actually give you competition and go like, haha, we're going to lose our stuff. Yes, you're going to lose a thing because you're not doing a thing, you know?
Go, why don't... Like, I just had in my mind like, Waluigi, I will sue you.
I guess, I'm just like, you can't just fucking... I mean, you could do it. It just doesn't end well either way.
Like, considering that no one's actually challenged the patents that Nintendo has because it's always been settled out of court.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how it goes.
Okay, so I have Fuji on here, but where the fuck is it? Because I can't add it again, and it says it's already been made, so I know it's on here somewhere. I don't know. I'll find it eventually. Apparently. You know, you organize this shit, and the next thing you know, it's just not organized. Oh, wait. I'm a fucking idiot. That's under the big fucking red area that says fucking people. Oh my god, I feel dumb. I am a straight up dumbass, holy shit. That is funny as shit. Damn, it's under the it's even red. It's fucking red. It's red. It's so blurry. It's literally a red light right there. Like, holy shit.
And it says people.
It says people. And I missed it somehow. I don't know how I did that.
You missed the people.
I missed the people, yeah. I missed everybody.
You hear that?
Also, one thing that is actually going to be kind of cool is Twitch is actually going to be mixing the chats. So everyone on the YouTube side will actually get to interact with everyone on the Twitch side, and I don't have to fucking mix that shit.
I think
no
that
more.
means like if we have a collab that our chats can interact.
Well, the point is
not necessarily YouTube, but
Well, the point, you get my point though, is the fact they mix and I don't have to keep fucking like changing shit, so I have to like interact with one and everyone's asking why am I saying this and this that, you know? Like a Google sues Yahoo. Yeah, that's just, you know. Microsoft suing Google, Firefox, and Opera GX. Yeah, that's just, it wouldn't make sense, you know? And plus they just look horrible doing it, you know? They just look bad. I could see them doing it though. I could see them doing it. It'd just be really shitty of them to do it. But yeah, no, I honestly think Nintendo is losing doing this. I don't think they're coming out on top.
Oh yeah, it's a literally nobody like that meme.
Yeah, gamers will remember this from like Walking Dead. You know, it's just that's how it happens.
Yeah, or like the Fallout thing, everybody disliked that.
Everyone disliked that. That was bad. You nuked Megaton, you dumbass. How the hell did you do that? Why the fuck would you do? Why would you nuke Megaton? Are you just an asshole?
You bastard!
You killed Kenny, you bastard! But you get my point.
I picked up the special stage.
Picked up a special stage? Oh yeah, you're doing the Sonic thing right now. Also, it's community night, so if anyone wishes to join, feel free to join in general chat. I'll be talking for a bit, and then we're gonna head straight into Palworld. I just want to talk because I want to start doing like just chats before I actually stream, you know? It's just kind of fun to actually interact with. Also, I kind of want to start posting them up as small YouTube videos, just because I feel like it'd be kind of interesting just to put my thoughts out there. But yeah, I just really think it's a dumb move for them to make. It's not smart at all.
It's like, yeah, it's literally shooting themselves in the foot. Instead of saying, what did Palworld do that we could replicate?
Yeah.
Or they're like, let's stifle our competition because we don't want it.
Thank you for the headpats, Creeper. But yeah, I'm just like, why? I don't think it'll kill Palworld. I do think it'll harm it specifically, very much so, though. I don't feel like it'll be good for the game or any of its developers. Palworld wasn't competition for Pokemon, though. It is, though. It actually is. It's not a misconception. Let's be honest. The moment Palworld gets picked up by any other company with enough money to back it, it becomes competition. It has very similar gameplay styles. The only difference is one is more of a survival game like Ark than the other. I honestly think it is competition. It's just not
and one is
direct. It's just not like a carbon copy, you know? Like the competition for Call of Duty has always been Battlefield or like a bunch of other stuff. But they're not the same games. Like you don't usually see tanks, helicopters, and all this other shit, like full-scale battles like you see at Battlefield Call of Duty. You know? Ow.
You're being raided.
I am being raided.
Well, it's also a fair point to mention that before a lot of FPSs became out, like they were called or Doom clones.
Yeah, they were called Doom
not
clones.
FPSs.
Exactly. Like it's just a thing. I honestly think it's one of those things of I just think when it comes to fucking like games like that, I think it is competition. Also, hello everybody, welcome. I hope everyone's doing well. I am
Also, hello chat. I am Snipe's new dog.
No, it's not working. Everyone sees you. So why is there fucking lag or some shit?
So wait a minute. If you're his dog, did you hire the assassin? Where's he been lately?
Oh wait, sorry, I haven't been. Thank you. No, you're good. You're good, Givites. I am happy you're here. How are you doing, mate? I got drafted here while drawing. I'm sorry you got drafted here. I hope you have a good stay, though. We have coffee. Skill issue, lol. I know.
We had 2 coffee shop owners, so.
To be fair, 2 coffee shop owners and 1 good coffee shop owner.
Hey, so you're saying I'm a good one? Thank you.
No, I'm saying you're shit.
Yeah, still, I got no competition at the end of
We
time.
have tea as well. We have tea as well. You will be able to drink, mate. You'll be fine. I promise. But yeah, freaking, we were talking about Palworld because Nintendo decided to sue the fuck out of them, and I'm like, oh no. How could this have happened? Oh wait, yeah, because Nintendo's a fucking asshole.
Fuck you, Nintendo.
Nintendo, fuck you.
Your Palworld do what Nintendo don't.
Fuck you. Thank you for the head pats. Fuck you. But you get my point. Like, I can kind of see where Nintendo's coming from. Oh shit, our biggest moneymaker is getting competition. Oh shit. Okay, so have a good one. Thank you for the lurkies. I hope you look well. Please have a good stream. Everyone, hey, Pi, can you shout him out for me? Thank you. Saying Palworld is...
Did you say lurk well?
Yes, lurk well. Lurk happy. I don't care. Just lurk. If I have to, I'll hit you with a lurk.
How does one lurk
go find the dog food now.
Do not eat the dog food.
Second shelf to the left.
All right, be right back.
I can't believe you do this. I can't believe it.
The fact that I actually know where the dog food is.
Yeah. But no,
you never feed us mods.
That's fair. That's fair. Saying Palworld is a competitor to Pokemon is like saying Vampire Survivors is a competitor to Slay on the Spirit. They are both roguelike, sure, but they're both such different takes on the game. They're different concepts. The point is, Pokemon doesn't want even a different concept. Let's be for real. The moment anything resembles Pokemon, Nintendo wants to kill it before it gets popular. Because they know if it gets popular, it's still competition. Sure, they're different takes on the genre, but the problem is they're still takes on the same genre. I mean, sure, they might not compete the same way, but any competition to Nintendo is like, oh, fuck no. Also, did you just crop that image out to become the dog? I mean, and honestly, Pi, if you want to talk about it, feel free to jump in, mate. Like, honestly, I really am curious on your thoughts about it. I know we went over a little bit, but I'm very curious now that they actually sued him. Because it is community night. I will say that it's community night. Everyone's free and welcome to join.
I found the dog food.
Nice. But yeah, no, fucking, like Pokemon, the whole thing happened. And what is it? Like, do you think Concord actually apparently, have you guys heard about this? Concord actually costed more than $400 million to make, apparently. Also, Iron Mouse got banned off YouTube, so holy shit. Or like, not banned, but like, her channel was terminated. So yeah. Shit. I'm just stay here for a bit, since we're doing drawing. Nice. Tim and Nexamon both have extremely similar mechanics to Pokemon, and they do not compete in the exact same way, genre meaning, and they have the same audience pool, but this isn't the case against either of them. Nintendo has no chance of winning against them either, so they don't bother suing them. I'm gonna be honest, they also don't have the same name recognizability. Because let's be honest, I've never heard of Tim or Nexamon. Have you heard of that, Ray?
No, but I do know if it gets right down to it, technically speaking, Dragon Quest could sue Pokemon for cloning their monsters.
That's if we're going really, really back, let's be honest. My point is this.
But it's still, but you still get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm getting what you're saying. My point is, when it comes to Pokemon, I specifically am like, and besides they're not suing that, they're suing over patents. But my whole thing is this. As much as they still compete and are the same style of games and they feel the same genre, they don't have the name recognizability. Let's be honest, Palworld does. It came out and it was the talk of the town for a month. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's still talking about it to some extent. There's a difference between Tim, there's a difference between Tim, and Exomon coming out and everyone liking them as similar games and not doing that, and then having headlines on everything for a full month comparing you to Pokemon. At this point, Palworld has the oomph behind it that they don't want to get more steam. Because let's be honest, say Palworld gets a decent amount of updates, a decent amount of content to it, and then they announce, say, a Palworld 2 with more stuff to it and all that stuff that's on every console except for maybe Nintendo. Next thing you know, oh my gosh, Nintendo's got some challenge. Especially from, like, I'm gonna be honest, fucking Palworld 2 or fucking, like more content and shit like that. The point is this. Palworld has expansion. Expansion. Like, Palworld has instantly become, like, I'm not trying to, like, overplay it. I'm trying to say is, as it has standing, it has enough of a push at the beginning of its lifetime that if it gets enough of a push more and just gets enough of content, it could be an actual contender. And I'm not talking in a sense of, like, same game, same mechanics. I'm talking in recognizability. Everyone knows Pokemon, but that's because of time and that they're the only ones doing it. You give Palworld enough time, enough marketing, you have it bought by a bigger company, and next thing you know, Nintendo has a problem on its hands. They have something with a marketing budget to actually fight them on Pokemon. Nintendo sold over 1 million copies, and there were several headlines of the game during development. It just never took off with the streaming scene, and it had just as much coverage as Nintendo was openly keeping track of development. I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard of the game. And it could sell over 1 million copies, but I don't think it's sold over as much as, like, Palworld has. I mean, I'll look it up, actually, but I honestly think that Palworld, at least as it stands right now, has a decent amount of chance to actually eventually becoming a decent contender for Pokemon. Like, a decent bit. And even so, even if it's not indirectly a thing, I'd still hate Pokemon for doing this, just because the fact of, sure, it's not the best. Like, it might not be the most complex thing, but my thing is, the point is they're still trying to stifle a competitor. That does so well with me, mate. That's my whole thing. Like, as much as I, like, want to say, like, Tim did it better, this, that, and the other, they're probably more accurate to the original Pokemon. My thing is this. I didn't want an original Pokemon to compete with it. I don't think anyone wanted a carbon copy of Pokemon to compete with Pokemon.
Nope, we wanted something to improve Pokemon.
We wanted something to either improve on Pokemon or a different take on Pokemon that was just as fun. Like, let's be honest, Palworld is just Legends Arceus taken to a decently big open world that runs pretty well, and then you get to shoot the Pokemon. That's the difference they made. But that's the point. Like, Battlefield is a competitor to Call of Duty. They're not the same game. They don't hit the same, they don't play the same, but they're still competitors. So you don't technically have to be the same genre in the same area of it to compete with it. Hello, Pi.
Hello.
How's it going, mate?
Silence, what I was saying about direct competition.
Yes.
Yes, Palworld is a creature collector.
Yes.
But they're not competing for the exact same audience.
No.
They're both creature collectors, sure, but Palworld is competing for the survival audience, whereas Pokemon is competing for the strategy audience.
Well, actually,
it's not that they're different games in that aspect. Again, they're both creature collectors at their core aspect.
Exactly.
And if Nintendo was suing just because they were a creature collector, Nintendo would have sued Ark under the same grounds.
Fair.
But they're not going to even touch Ark because, there's no case for them to even touch Ark.
Yeah, no.
That's why I'm saying, if it were a case of it being a competitor, Palworld wouldn't be sued at all because, again, they're competing for different audiences.
I'm gonna be honest.
Palworld is competing more with Ark than Palworld is competing with Pokemon.
Actually, I would kind of disagree. Because I don't think it's specifically about genre, but age. Think about it. As kids grow up, they usually get Pokemon, right? It's a kid's game. This one's more meant for teens. And sure, it's meant for kids, but the teenagers still grow up with it and still play it like crap. Like, I have seen people so addicted to Pokemon that even in their, 30s, they're still collecting cards and buy every game every single time it releases. The point is, they're both targeting younger adolescents, basically. The difference is one could lean into the Call of Duty crowd, considering guns and everything else like that. But I will...
by that same logic that you're using, they're still competing for different audiences.
True. But I really don't think...
That's why I'm saying it's not a case of competition, it's a case of Nintendo found that there is something they could sue Palworld for, so they're going to sue Palworld for it because Palworld is making a profit off of it.
I'm gonna be honest, I still think it's due to competition.
That's why a ton of Pokemon fan games that also siphon a lot of that traffic, such as Pokerogue or Pokemon Infinite Fusion, don't get touched despite directly using Pokemon's IP, is because they are very clearly parodies, and neither of them make a profit off of those things. So Nintendo has no ground to sue them, because even if they tried to sue them in Japan's court, where Nintendo would have the advantage, because Japan has very different copyright laws,
they do.
They'd still lose.
I'm just saying, I do think it's because of competition. I honestly think Palworld is something you could actually... How put it? I think, unlike the others like Tim and Nexamon, I honestly think Palworld, if you gave it enough time, a decent budget, and had a decent backer behind it, could eventually actually be a decent competitor. And the reason I'm saying this is because, while they're not the same games, I also pointed out that you don't have to be technically the same type of game to be a competitor. Like Battlefield, Call of Duty, I bring those two because they're very different games if you played them. They're not the same game at all, but they still compete.
Pokemon would have sued Digimon a long time ago. I get what you were saying, you don't consider Digimon a competitor, but Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! To an extent were Pokemon's original competition.
Yeah, and they've fallen by the wayside.
Pokemon's original competition. No, they haven't. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still extremely popular.
I'm not saying it's not.
Digimon kind of has, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Hasn't.
Well, they're not. What I'm pointing at is, when it comes to Pokemon, it's on such a big scale. And I'm saying upstarts. They don't seem like Pokemon doesn't seem to want any upstarts. Like Temtem, Nexamon, as much as I'd say those guys would compete with them, they're basically, from what I've seen, or from what I've heard, they're basically the same thing as Pokemon. I don't want a Pokemon game. I want something similar to Pokemon that's not the same. Like Battlefield to Call of Duty. The reason that... Yeah. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying Temtem is Pokemon, but it's not directly Pokemon. It's similar to Pokemon.
Yeah.
For example, Temtem, sure, they still have a PowerPoint-esque mechanic, but Temtem also has a stamina system. You can't just constantly attack in Temtem, because doing so causes your Pokemon to start dealing damage to itself, or your Temtem to start dealing damage to themselves mid-battle.
Nintendo sued Palworld. So we're talking about that. I honestly do think, though, that Nintendo really doesn't want any competition. And I've got to be honest, I really feel that. I do think they see Palworld as just a small bit of competition. Just because of how...
Logic, if that were the case, they would have sued a lot more platformers. They would have sued a lot more turn-based strategy games. Like,
you know why?
A great example, the Fire Emblem series. Fire Emblem is also a really big IP for Nintendo. Yeah, I know. Let me finish, Silence.
Okay.
Let me finish.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
Fire Emblem is also one of their biggest IPs. It's not nearly as big as Pokemon, but it is definitely in their top 10 biggest IPs.
I will say this, I have been wanting to get into that.
Fire Emblem has a better case for suing another game than Pokemon does if it were just to kill competition. and that would be the XCOM series, because XCOM would compete with Fire Emblem, and actually does.
I'm gonna be honest.
And they've never touched XCOM. And
I'm
XCOM at one point was bigger than Fire Emblem.
If we really wanted to extrapolate this, if we really wanted to do like extrapolate this out, I could also mention chess, considering that's turn-based. Like that, I'm just saying, turn-based strategy has been a thing since like medieval period. I'm not saying it's a thing.
You legally cannot sue chess because the
I know.
developers of chess are dead.
I know.
You can't sue a corpse.
I know, but the problem is the idea of a turn-based strategy game is from chess. Like that's the problem. You can't sue because of that. And also,
what I am saying is, by the mechanics of Fire Emblem specifically, they actually do have grounds to sue XCOM, because a lot of XCOM's mechanics are based off of Fire Emblem. XCOM was originally meant to be a love letter to Fire Emblem, but Nintendo will never sue XCOM because they don't have the grounds to. XCOM is similar to Fire Emblem, but the game is so fucking different from Fire Emblem that if Nintendo even tried, they would just be losing money for it.
I'm gonna be honest.
They don't have a case in that regard.
That's
what I'm saying. Well, Nintendo has two criteria to suing something. Do they have a legitimate case to be able to sue something? If the answer is yes, they will look at the other criteria. Is this game affecting sales? If the answer is no, they're not going to touch it. If it hits both, then they will sue.
I'm gonna be honest.
Well, there's a third one, which is there a good chance of them winning? But that's kind of the same thing as case 2.
The second case, there's also a fourth one. We don't have a case, but it's affecting our it's affecting us monetarily. I'm gonna be honest.
In the case of XCOM, is there a case for them to sue XCOM?
They could,
because XCOM has openly admitted that it was a love letter to Fire Emblem. They based a lot of their mechanics off of Fire Emblem. They've openly stated that. That's out in the open, which means that Nintendo could easily use that in any court. Is XCOM a direct competitor to Fire Emblem, and is it affecting their sales? Yes, there was a point in time where XCOM was bigger than Fire Emblem, as I stated before.
Yes.
And XCOM, as a result, actually poached some of the Fire Emblem audience. Now, is Nintendo going to win against XCOM? Is there a good chance of them winning? No. There's nowhere. They have... If it were mathematically possible to have a negative chance of winning,
yes,
Nintendo would have a negative chance of winning against XCOM. And that has nothing to do with profits. It has to do with the fact that the games are still different enough that Nintendo just doesn't have a case in that regard.
I'm gonna be honest. I still feel like they don't have too much of a case here. I just think they want to sue them because A, it was a bit of a damage to their money mitt. Because let's be honest, when Scarlet and Violet came out and then Palworld comes out, the first thing everyone went to was, this game is better than Scarlet and Violet. And let's be honest, it was. It did.
Well, let's be completely honest on how Nintendo does their lawfare here.
Yeah.
The cases that they have considered to have won in terms of like when they're going after patent infringement, they've won not because they made it to the courtroom, but because they settled out before the courts.
Yeah, they drag it out. Because let's be honest, like
another big thing that I would like to point out as well when it comes to Palworld versus Pokemon, and this is one thing that a lot of people forget. Both of them are eligible for the Japanese court because Palworld's developers are homed in Japan.
Yeah, I know.
So if Nintendo is suing them in the Japanese home court, which Palworld had to comply to ahead of time, by the way.
Yeah.
Then I get it. There's a lot of things that I don't initially see where the copyright infringement are or anything that Pokemon is suing them for because I don't fully understand that legal jargon.
It's a patent specifically over how the ball mechanics are working.
Yeah, which I can't really tell considering I've seen a lot of games do the ball mechanic shit. You know, they're suing them because
Actually,
they get
I
sucked
can
into
see
a
that.
ball.
I can see that case actually working out in Pokemon's favor.
I
That actually makes sense.
honestly
I'm
couldn't
not so
consider.
sure because the ball mechanic, there's only so many ways a ball can open. Let's be
Yeah.
honest here.
Like, there's only one way a ball can open. You can't open it like halfway through because either way, it's just the same way it's open, just flip to the like right or some shit. You know, there's only one way.
There have been extreme. I'm going to sound like a broken record because I'm bringing Temtem back into this.
Yes.
But Temtem, the main reason why Pokemon had no case against them, one, Temtem's creatures were extremely unique, so Pokemon didn't have a case in that regard. Even the ones that seemed closely resembling Pokemon ones, which is they have a Porygon-esque knockoff in a sense, because they kind of wanted to have one love letter to Nintendo. Nintendo didn't have any grounds to sue them on it because it was still different enough. And when it comes to their catch mechanic, yeah, their catch mechanics actually work identically to Pokemon, but the way the capture, like the actual thing to capture creatures, is extremely different. Temtem uses like small data chips that it stores inside of things. So instead of it being like a Pokeball, it's like a little chip that you can see what is inside the thing that you just carry around in your pocket, kind of like a wallet. And that's different enough for Nintendo to have no grounds in that regard.
You know what I'm gonna laugh about?
Temtem, on the other hand, is using almost an identical catching process to Pokemon. So I can see how Nintendo would win that case.
You know what I'm gonna laugh about? When Palworld changes the sphere to a fucking cube. And they just fucking bypass it because they say a sphere opens and it, like a ball basically does it. What if I have a cube?
That actually
That'd be funny as shit.
Palworld to win.
I would love that. They just switch it straight up to a cube.
That actually would win that debate, and that's probably what Nintendo's hoping for. Like I said, Nintendo isn't a fan of monopolies, which is
I don't know about that.
Even the creators of Fire Emblem have praised XCOM, because, like I said, XCOM was a direct competitor to Fire Emblem. Nintendo doesn't care for XCOM like that.
Well, I would agree with that, but the whole problem I have with Nintendo is they're not. So you say they're not fully great for monopolies. They fucking have a monopoly right now. And you know what that is? It's over the handheld gaming. No, handheld gaming. Sure, the Steam Deck's a thing, but it's not in Walmart. It's not anywhere else. And if anything, everyone recognizes the Switch. You know, that's like the household thing. What everyone's asking for is a Switch 2. They basically have a monopoly on that shit.
Silings, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you have a phone?
Yes.
Congratulations, you have a competitor to mobile gaming.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Are you actually considering phone games better than like mobile gaming, but like an actual console?
I'm not saying it's better than a console, but I am saying that has been a competitor for mobile gaming for longer than a lot of their stuff has been. I am nowhere close to praising phones as a mobile device for gaming. I'm just saying, like, that's a thing and has been a thing for a long ass time too.
I agree. I'm just saying. But you get my point though.
Yeah,
like
I don't think many people really take mobile gaming seriously in that respect.
Exactly. Nobody really cares.
All I'm saying is this. I think Nintendo is just losing its bridges a bit too much, in my opinion. I honestly think that. I think they got butthurt that Scarlet and Violet in most people's eyes was kind of a failure, considering the fact that Power came out and just kicked it in the teeth is kind of an insult to Pokemon, and they're kind of a little bit angry about it.
What are you talking about?
Scarlet and
Violet had some of their biggest sale numbers recently.
Yeah, recently, when it came out. I'm talking the time it came out.
Hold up.
Remember, it came out, it was buggy as shit, everyone started hating it, the Palworld came out, and everyone was like, this is actually good, this is what Pokemon could be if it actually had time to fucking cook. You know?
And it's still buggy, by the way. That hasn't been patched.
No, I'm not saying it's not buggy. I'm just saying. So, hello. Thank you for stop hitting me in the head.
Out of all of the Pokemon games, the 2 generations that had the biggest sales numbers, of course, are Gen 1 and Gen 2.
Yes.
Those 2 are almost never going to be beaten in sales, because Gen 1 has like over 100 million copies sold worldwide, and no game is coming that close except for Minecraft, if I remember correctly.
Minecraft is its own beast. We'll get on Minecraft later.
Yeah, Minecraft is its own beast. Minecraft is the biggest selling game of all time, whereas Pokemon is the biggest selling franchise of all time.
I don't want to talk about Minecraft just because I don't want to have to talk about the live action movie, and I'm gonna be honest, that's gonna suck.
I don't blame you. Sword and Shield sold 26.35 million copies.
Speaking of which, that was actually my first Pokemon game.
And that was actually one of the worst comparatively.
Huh?
It was. Sword and Shield was by far one of the worst, or it was considered one of the worst games for Pokemon. And that has nothing to do with the game being bad. It has everything to do with the fact that Dynamax was not well taken because it was an extremely unbalanced mess.
Fair.
Keep in mind, this isn't including this year.
Yeah.
So there have been more sales for Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
But by the end of 2023, Scarlet and Violet had sold over 24 million copies. It's already almost beaten Sword and Shield. And Sword and Shield's statistics have been since June 2024. And keep in mind, Scarlet and Violet is widely regarded as the best story Pokemon has created since Generation 5. Which was over a decade ago.
Yeah, I will agree, but we're not talking about as it is right now. I'm talking as it was when it came out. When it came out, everyone was raging. Everyone was losing their mind.
When it came out, it sold over 15 million copies.
It doesn't matter if it sold. It was Pokemon. It's always going to get those numbers. It's like Call of Duty in that regard. But the thing is, Call of Duty sold a lot. Vanguard technically outsold, what was it? It outsold, I think it nearly outsold Elden Ring, but Vanguard was awful. It was one of the worst Call of Duties. A game could sell a lot and still get raged at. So when Scarlet and Violet came out, it might have sold that much, but it was still getting shit on left and right because of its poor performance and dog shit bugs in the game. And though I know you said they probably didn't know about it because of server side or whatever it was. The point is, it was released. Everyone was
client side, not server side. The best way to put it, the test switches that they have. For starters, they don't have online functionality, so they can't test online functionality.
I think that's kind of dumb.
Which was yes and no. The reason why is because they don't need to test online functionality because they're in the same building.
Well, I say they still
at that point you can use the local network connection, not Wi-Fi.
I'd still say test it out as a I would say test it out just because you kind of want to test it out for when the actual game's launched. You know?
I guess, yeah.
It's just a thing you need to plan for.
A lot of the bugs that occurred when it came to Scarlet and Violet were on systems that they just had no way of realistically testing without potentially leaking stuff on their game that they don't want to leak.
I kind of agree with that, but my whole point is this. The game came out, everyone raged at it, and let's be honest, I feel like they had the right to do so. But then they get actually upgraded and, finally actually get optimized, and it's perfectly fine after that. But the problem is this.
Yeah.
At that point, everyone was tired.
They got that optimized within a month, which was before Palworld released.
True, but everyone was still getting the sore lip of it. Everyone was still not super happy. And I'm not talking about hardcore Pokemon fans. I'm talking general audiences who will sometimes hop into a Pokemon game here and there. Same people that usually either play Call of Duty once a year or, stuff like that. General audience.
I would say a majority of the people who were crying were trying for the sake of content because they saw that some news articles were exploding on it.
I honestly don't think it was for the sake
a lot of the people who were giving out like the silly bugs and all that. Like for example, you've seen that Slenderman biker meme
Yes.
from Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
The person who did that, they mainly posted it on there because they thought it was funny as fuck to see. They didn't do it because they thought it was a genuine complaint at the game. They just thought it was a funny as fuck bug.
True.
And yet people spun that into, oh, this is one of the biggest complaints of Scarlet and Violet.
It is a big complaint.
So,
like it wasn't, and you can't just say, this person thought it was funny and he thought it was funny, so he posted up there. It doesn't matter. A lot of people have problems with buggy games. Remember when Cyberpunk came out? It's a great game now, but it came out and it was buggy as shit. Like when games come out buggy, even if it's not intentional or people think it's funny, like hell, I like Elder Scrolls games. I love bugs. Bugs are funny as shit to me, but I still think they're a problem. And most people do. So when Scarlet and Violet came out, sure, they may have fixed it within a month, but there were still enough problems for people to get sour tasted over it. So when Palworld came out,
the only reason why I would argue against that specifically in the case for Pokemon is because of the existence of Gen 1.
That we're not talking about Gen 1.
No, let me finish.
Okay.
If you're not aware, because I don't think you keep up with Pokemon in that regard.
No, I told you, my first Pokemon game was Sword and Shield.
Yep, mine was old school Red.
Gen 1 Pokemon is the buggiest oversold product that has ever been released, and I mean just ever.
Fair.
And a great example of that is the 1 in 256 glitch.
What's that?
If every move that has a 100, even if the move has a 100% chance to hit, unless the move bypasses accuracy checks, it always has a 1 in 256 chance to miss because they coded the game to take a roll between 1 and 255. The problem with that is in their own programming, it had a chance to roll 0, which is less than 1. If it hit anywhere between 1 and 255, it would consider the move hitting. If it hit 0, on the other hand, the move would miss, despite the fact that the move had 100% accuracy.
So, do you know why?
And that's just the tip of the iceberg for bugs in Gen 1.
I will say that, but my thing is, I don't feel like you should be. How put it? I feel like the argument's a little invalid just because you're going all the way back to the first game ever released. If I was going back the same way to compare it to another thing, I'm not going to go back all the way to Battlefield 1945 to compare it to like the new game and say, oh, you have bugs and all that shit, so they're the same. I wouldn't compare it like that. It's like in the modern day, you can update your game, you can fix your game, and all that other shit. And while they did do that, the point is you shouldn't have launched it like that in the same way either way. You should have learned from the first game. And I know you're going to say you would think so. The point is you still should have done it.
No, I'm saying you would think so, but these mechanics were so beloved that even in modern emulators, or not emulators, but modern, what's it called? Simulators for competitive Pokemon on a certain website called Pokemon Showdown.
Yeah.
All of the mechanics from Gen 1, including the bugged mechanics, one of the most beloved ones being normal. If a move is the same type as the Pokemon you're attacking with, so for example, the move Body Slam is a normal type move with a 30% chance to paralyze.
Exactly.
If Body Slam is used against a normal type, the Pokemon cannot be paralyzed for some reason. It's just because the Body Slam is a normal type move and it's being used against a normal type.
Okay.
The simulators take that into account. If Gen 1, despite how buggy it was, is so beloved that modern day simulators are still simulating those bugs, then I don't think it's a matter of Pokemon fans hating bugs. I think a lot of them turn those into features.
It's not about the bugs. It's not about bugs.
I would say...
Well, I mean, it is about bugs, but it's not about Pokemon fans liking bugs. Because I have a perfect counter to this. The Elder Scrolls series. Morrowind has a lot of features similar to Pokemon in that regard. The missing, the hits, all that stuff. And it's still beloved, and some people consider it still the best. But I'm not talking about the people who are hardcore fans who've played since the first game. I'm talking of people who are new to the series and modern day people who, and I quote, got into Starfield, saw how buggy it was and saw the lacking features it had, and basically dipped out.
Yeah, and a lot of the problem with that is
So
that a lot of those fans, as a result of growing up on a lot more modern games where bugs are a lot less common and are a lot easier to patch out and a lot faster to patch out, have higher expectations for games.
exactly.
I'm not saying that Scarlet and Violet should have released in the state that they released in. I've even told you I do think they should have taken just a little bit of time in order
Yeah.
to iron out those bugs before heading on break. But at the same time, like, it's kind of synonymous with Pokemon at this point that there will always be bugs in the games,
Well,
and a majority of the community, especially the hardcore fans, are going to laugh at those bugs because they find them kind of funny.
Well, the thing is, I could say
But
the same excuse for
Scarlet and Violet is Scarlet and Violet is the first case where those bugs hit the mainstream.
Yeah.
And as a result of hitting the mainstream, a majority of the complaints about the game were likely from people who either played Pokemon for the first time through Scarlet or Violet, or were just jumping on the complaint train because they saw it was trending.
Well, it wasn't just. It's
I'm
not just a complaint train. Because the thing is this: I could compare this to actually like Bethesda's works. The reason I'm comparing is because it's a perfect thing. Because you're like Bethesda's synonymous with bugs, the same. You know, they're the same thing. The problem is everyone's standards have gotten up, and that's a good thing. I think Pokemon Scarlet Valley did get hated on, but hated on for the right reason, let's be honest. When you release a game that buggy, you really shouldn't have. And though it's synonymous with the series, and though it's probably beloved by the hardcore fans, it's not great. And the fact that you did that, honestly, in my opinion, caused a lot of hurt to the Pokemon goodwill. And that's why everyone was clamoring for Palworld when it came out. Because sure, it was buggy, but not to the extent fucking Scarlet and Violet was. And it was a decent change up on the formula. You know? That's why.
Well,
With goodwill going with good
competing for a completely different genre.
Yeah. But my thing is, let me finish.
With the exception of Digimon, almost every creature collector has been trying to compete with turn-based strategy.
But think about it this way. You're coming off Scarlet and Violet. In most people's eyes, not just the Pokemon fans, but in most people's eyes who are outside the thing, they're seeing Pokemon just releasing a really like glitched out game. Then you go to Palworld. Competitor, new, has an interesting idea. It's kind of crazy, you know? Next thing you know, it comes out, it's pretty damn good. Most people are thinking it's just gonna be a cash grab. Comes out pretty good, nice, you know, nothing super special, but it's fun. And then you have people comparing it to Pokemon. And then people start comparing it to Pokemon and trashing on Pokemon. So when it comes to that, I think Nintendo gets mad about that because their star franchise, their Call of Duty, and I'm gonna say it like that, is getting shit on by a competitor for the first time and actually getting really shit on.
In that regard, Silence.
Yes.
How long ago do you think Palworld released?
Let's see.
No, without looking it up, how long ago do you think Palworld released?
I would say they released back. I'd say February.
You don't have to give me an exact.
February.
You don't have to give me an exact date if you don't have to.
I say it was,
if you can't think of one.
I think it was February.
You say back in February of this year?
February this year or November of last year.
Okay, when do you think Scarlet and Violet came out?
It was probably, if I remember correctly, it was probably February of the last year.
When do you think their first DLC came out?
November. Or maybe August. One of the two.
You would be close on their DLC.
Yeah.
You are close with Palworld's release. Palworld was released in January of this year.
Okay.
Pokemon's first DLC released later last year. But you are very wrong about when Scarlet and Violet came out. Scarlet and Violet came out in 2022.
Oh.
So, a full year had gone, or well over a full year had gone by. About a year and a half had gone by since Scarlet and Violet's release.
Yet, and
if it were a case of, oh, those bugs are still fresh in the people's minds, they're still angry about that, they'd be angry about those bugs that happened on release for a year and a half. As if their systems had never updated.
I'm gonna be honest, it's not about systems updating. What I'm saying is, to anyone new, anyone who's looking into Pokemon who may have not gotten into Pokemon, because let's be honest, the movies came out, they got them a bunch of publicity and all that shit. A lot of new people were getting into Pokemon. Like, hell, remember I said my first game was Sword and Shield, so my second ever Pokemon game, which I did get Scarlet and Violet, was Scarlet and Violet. And then coming into the bugs was kind of a sour taste. It's one of those things says it's not about core. I'm not talking about core Pokemon fans who love the games and have played a lot of them.
I'm not going to bring up the core Pokemon fans for this argument.
I'm talking about the general audience who glanced in, saw it released as a buggy mess, similar to something like Starfield or something like that, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to spend my money on it. And then they see Palworld, and it's surprisingly good.
Okay, so now I'm going to get into my point.
Okay.
If people are still complaining about the game a whole year and a half after its release, do you think Nintendo is going to see them as ever buying their game?
I'm gonna be honest, they could see them as, we can get them next time. Because let's be honest, Call of Duty has the whole thing of, oh my gosh, we'll release a new game, and we'll get them back again. I'm saying they probably have some...
Nintendo isn't that kind of company. I'm not saying that in the case of, they're not looking to expand they are absolutely looking to expand their audience.
Yeah.
But they're the kind of company that if they see someone is critiquing their thing, they're not going to bother to try to hook them, because at that point they're like, we'll just get their kids. We're not going to worry about them.
Exactly.
They don't have to worry about their numbers dropping like that because the IP is that big. So if people are complaining, we failed with expanding the audience there, but who cares? We're still making a ton of money anyway. I'm
gonna be honest, with everything that's been going on gaming-wise, I don't feel like big IPs will save you anymore. Just because you have a name attached to you doesn't mean you're gonna make money anymore. Call of Duty, for the first time ever, has actually been very, very poorly sold. Modern Warfare 3 has been awful for them. And let's also point out, most of Ubisoft's stuff is bombing. What is it? Fucking like Rogue is already Outlaws is already in like bargain bins, and that's a Star Wars game. Just because you have a big IP won't save you no more.
Considering most, if not all, of Nintendo's big IPs are still very popular, highly profitable, and aren't seeing any high degree of failure. Like Pokemon 2 years ago on release was the biggest flop that they've had. They still sold a ton.
I'm not saying they did.
They took the criticism of the bugs hopefully to heart, considering
that's yet to be seen, in my opinion.
That is the first time they've ever released a game that's a buggy mess, so I'm assuming they're probably going to learn off of that mistake, and given how strict Japan is in regards to that kind of thing, there's a good chance that a lot of the people who developed Scarlet and Violet got fired. And that's kind of makes me sad to say, because I really liked the writing team of Scarlet and Violet. That is the best.
They probably kept them. They probably got the optimizers or whatever. But you get my point. They had a really bad year. And that bad year was coincided with Palworld. Sure, it's not the same year. It's not the same year, but they didn't have anything else come out afterwards that was on the same level as Scarlet and Violet. And Palworld was getting so much praise, calling it competition. And as much as you downplay only streamers doing that, streamers have a lot of effect. And it's not just streamers, content creators, news sites.
I'm not downplaying that. What I am downplaying is, yes, Palworld and Pokemon are both creature collectors, so they are competitors in that aspect specifically. But the reason why I'm saying Palworld is not a competitor is because they are looking for completely different audiences. It's not that they're both creature collectors. If we went based off of it just being a creature collector, then I will reuse my example of Slay the Spire and Vampire Survivors. Both of them are roguelike games. So
Yeah.
they should, by your own logic, they should both be competing with each other.
They technically
And that
are.
is not the case at all. Because Slay the Spire is a turn-based strategy game, whereas roguelike Survivors is a top-down shooter. They are
Yeah.
not competing with each other in that regard.
They're not the same genre, but they have, how about it? They're the same, like, they have the same core thing. Like, they're both creature collectors, going back to Palworld and Pokemon. And sure, they may not be the same in the same sense of like Call of Duty or Battlefield, but they're still gonna do the same thing. They're still gonna cover to a core audience of creature collectors for people who just like creature collectors. They just do it in different ways. You know? It's like, if I go to Call of Duty, I'm expecting 3 lanes, 6v6 combat. It's still an FPS. I go to Battlefield, I'm expecting 64v64 players. And, you know, massive battlefield with tanks, guns, and all that shit. I can still label them on the same thing as FPS, and while they do vie for different audiences, one going for a massive scale thing, they also go to a core audience of FPS shooters. So they do compete. And I do
They
think
compete
that
a lot more directly, though. That competes in the
yes.
same way that XCOM and Fire Emblem compete with each other.
And I'm saying
And-
Palworld has
And-
what I consider the first time actually the not I wouldn't say the marketing, but the goodwill enough to actually try and decently compete if it got its footing. It hasn't got its footing yet. If it gets its actual footing, and I mean a decent amount of people playing it, because there's already a decent amount of people playing it, but my point is a decent amount of content picked up by maybe a larger studio, funded by say like Microsoft or Sony or that shit, they actually are like decent competition. Like some people actually start thinking, maybe I should go with Palworld instead of Pokemon. That is the first time I think something like that could actually happen.
There are 2 arguments that I have against
Yes.
that. One, like I said before, by your same example of, oh, this is an actual competitor in that regard. Like I said before, Fire Emblem and XCOM, they are a lot more closely competing with each other due to how similar
Dog
the
is
things
going
are.
to be dead.
XCOM is
No.
even literally stated they're a love letter to Fire Emblem.
Good night, Creeper.
But
Sorry.
Nintendo is never going to sue XCOM because they would lose that case. They know they would lose that case.
Yeah.
And they've known that for over a decade at this point.
Yeah.
If the case was solely, Palworld is a game that's heavily taking off, they're just going to eventually beat Pokemon once they get a foothold. The problem with that is Palworld already reached that foothold. They already reached their peak player performance.
I don't
over
think they
the
have.
time, and that was I'm not saying, I'm not looking at future statistics. Future statistics when the game fully releases is likely when you'll see the closest aspect of their high player base.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is they reached their peak months ago,
Mhm.
and their active player base has fallen off a cliff in comparison. So as a result of that, if it were solely because, Palworld looks like it's taking off, if you look at active player base, that looks like it's the exact opposite reaction.
I could say the
Which
same thing
means
what happens.
Nintendo would have less reason, they'd have more reason to have sued Palworld initially than they would have now. The fact that they're choosing to sue Palworld long after Palworld started falling off a cliff because they just aren't updating fast enough. The fact that Nintendo waited this long for something as obscure as catching, or how it catches things, I would say they gave Palworld a chance to update some things. And there was likely a time where they were trying to talk to Palworld on, hey, can you guys change this one little thing? I'm not saying that did happen. There's just a chance that might have been the case. Because they did something similar for Temtem, because like I said before, Nintendo was actually actively supervising to a degree Temtem's development.
Well, Well, it is worth mentioning that a lot of ideas like Palworld-based anime has been cropping up lately,
Yeah.
and that should be considered in the timing as well.
Also, I do have to admit, this also may play, like, say the, give me a second. Say the lawsuit actually ends in Palworld's, like, victory. I think that'll earn them so much more of a benefit. And I'm not trying to say this because I hate on Pokemon. I think Pokemon's good. But I honestly, genuinely think, even though the player base has fallen off, that happens with every game. The player base falls off every time when the fucking game doesn't get enough content. That happened with Halo. Do you think if a new Halo was announced, people aren't gonna line up the shelves to buy it?
Because you mentioned how you like Pokemon, that actually did it. Even though it has nothing to do with what I'm about to say, it actually reminded me one thing. Nintendo is not the direct developers of Pokemon. That would be Game Freak, one of their sub companies.
Exactly.
So if you're watching and Nintendo, regardless of how the income is, don't get pissed with Pokemon for the lawsuit against Palworld, because the developers of Pokemon likely had zero involvement in the lawsuit at all, because Nintendo's legal team and Game Freak are two extremely different companies.
As much as I would like to say that, until I get any like confirmation on that, I don't want to rule anything out. As much as I like that, I like the idea of saying that, but I'm gonna be honest, I want to be able to throw shade at the Pokemon Company if they did have shit in this. Because let's be honest, after you're getting
the Pokemon Company has its own legal team and Nintendo has its own legal team. So if Pokemon itself was suing it, the lawsuit would be under the Pokemon Company, or it would be under Game Freak. It wouldn't be under Nintendo.
Which is why I think I can make that argument if that's why they're doing it, because it's under Nintendo. Because if it's Pokemon suing it, it looks super suspicious. I do think, at least in my opinion, they're doing it mostly to stifle competition. Also, hey Baller, how's it going, mate?
Wait, Sai, I thought you didn't have your voice.
I did. No, earlier I didn't have my voice, and it came back, actually. I'm actually happy about that.
Okay, that's good.
It's still not completely...
Drank a healing potion.
Yeah, apparently the healing potion is Pepsi.
Apparently healing potions are very good at healing. Who knew?
Yes, potions of healing. But no, my whole point is, as much as I think it wouldn't be nice not to blame the Pokemon Company, they could be using Nintendo specifically, because Nintendo doesn't look as bad. If Pokemon's suing you because you're a creature collector, that looks really bad to the outside viewing. So I won't rule it out right now, just because I don't know all the facts. But I do think it is a little scummy.
Isn't that kind of what Nintendo's known for? Like, rolling out a cease and desist to, like, anything that could even remotely be perceived as copyright infringement?
If that... Okay, so...
I mean, I could go into the amount of content creators.
If that were the case, Palworld would have been sued a long time ago at this point.
I honestly feel like they're just trying to pull something out of their ass at this point. Because, let's be honest, they are very... Like, I will say this, Nintendo is very... so happy when it comes to content creators, and I mean very, like, cease and desist, take that down, take this down, copyright this.
That's what I was saying. So, like, them doing it does not surprise me in the slightest. I'm just surprised it took as long as it did, if anything.
Well, now they're suing them over this.
Counter argument, Pokemon Infinite Fusion, which, by the way, is a direct parody of Pokemon and is directly using their IP, was trending for over a year, and is still, you can still make an argument for it trending. Never sued once by Nintendo. Nintendo's never even tried to take any.
Do they make money off of it? Do they make money? Exactly. No. Palworld makes money as its own game, which in their eyes, the same thing could be said about content creators, of why we make content off Nintendo, basically either reviewing it, talking about the games, this and the other, and then we get our things to cease and desist by Nintendo because we make money from it.
I'm not saying it off the aspect of that, because if it were a case of Nintendo is suing content creators for making money off of Pokemon,
they do that.
My challenge to that is there are plenty of Pokemon content creators, and I'm using Pokemon content creators specifically because, you know, we're talking about Pokemon in question. who never get touched at all with cease and desist letters because they are complying with a rule set that Nintendo has set out, which is we are perfectly fine with you playing our games or anything like that. We see that as free. They see that as free advertisement.
Yeah,
but
I wish
the
they
only
would.
time they have a genuine problem with it is if you're playing their game on an emulator, because at that point you're technically illegally playing their game.
I hate that so much. Like, if it's the Switch thing, I kind of understand considering it's their latest console. But if I'm using a fucking Wii emulator, come on, man. You're not stealing the Wii no more. There's no way to get a Wii no more.
I am talking about the Switch case, because there are other cases of people playing on emulators that Nintendo doesn't really care for at all. A great example of that, again, goes to fan games, because those are also technically illegal games. Pokemon Clover, a fan game that was trending for quite some time, is a Pokemon fan game made by 4chan. Yes, 4chan made a Pokemon game. That
it
game
is worth mentioning though that they do get
emulator.
litigious. As the Metroid 2 remakes, they got
fair.
really testy over.
They did. It's like what is it? There's also the Smash, just playing emulator on a Smash Bros. What was it, Melee, and not using a GameCube. Yeah, no. Nintendo isn't free for that just because they don't do it to Pokemon, which is basically their Call of Duty. Because let's be honest, you release a Pokemon and you're making millions. It doesn't even matter. It's basically their Call of Duty.
It depends on circumstance.
It doesn't. It does. They don't want to hurt the goodwill of their cash cow. I don't think Nintendo's the best. I don't think they're the worst. But I honestly think when it comes to Nintendo,
they are far from the worst.
Oh no, I fully agree. But
they're miles better than Sony and Microsoft right now.
I fully agree. My point is about is this: they are not the best. They are not the worst.
I agree. Microsoft belongs in one of the bottom tiers, but they are not in the same tier as Sony.
No, Sony is a whole other bag of shit. Yeah. But we're not talking about Sony. We're talking about Nintendo specifically.
If there was a tier list of shitty AAA companies right now, I would say Nintendo is either in the middle or in the upper middle of the pack right now. Microsoft would be somewhere in like the lower middle, and Sony would be like at the very fucking bottom.
Bye, nice.
Well, that just beats Sonic too.
Yeah, nice. But you get my point. I think Nintendo isn't a bad company. I don't think it's a great company. But I do feel like when it comes to certain IPs, they're very picky and choosy about what you can and cannot do. Metroid, don't even bother making a fan game. They will destroy it. Don't even bother doing anything fan-wise. It'll probably be gone. When it comes to Pokemon, except for art. But then again, you're not going to stop the NSFW community on that shit. Samus is just too damn hot.
Yeah.
They actually can't do anything.
I remember
exactly.
But there's literally nothing they can do.
Oh, I know.
Even in Japan's laws, there's nothing they can do.
Oh, I know. That's my point. Is when it comes to when it comes to Pokemon, they don't want to hurt the image of the golden child, basically. Because Mario's a golden child. Let's be honest. But gosh dang. Pokemon just makes way too much money. They release it almost every other year or every year sometimes, and it makes so much money.
Child and Pokemon is the golden goose, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because Nintendo puts Mario up on a higher pedestal than they do Pokemon, but
he's
Pokemon
the mascot. Mario's the mascot.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
the face of the company.
Mario is their mascot. No, Pokemon ain't changing that.
Pokemon ain't
Pikachu
changing.
is the mascot of Nintendo, but it's more of a mascot of Pokemon itself than it is of Nintendo. Whereas Mario just flat out is he is their Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is this: while Mario may be popular, Pokemon is basically Nintendo's Call of Duty. They will milk it dry until they can't. And any bad will about it, any bad ideas or anything bad about it, starts hurting the cash cow, and you don't fucking hurt the cash cow. Why do you think they're so fucking against, hell, even COD does the same thing. Like, any fan thing about that, they terminate because, oh my gosh, you can't do that shit to our Call of Duty. You can't hurt our cash cow. So all I'm saying is, This doesn't surprise me that they sued Palworld, but I do think it's just this type of competition. Because let's be honest, if Palworld gets an anime, if Palworld gets a good movie and gets actually good publicity, I see it actually challenging the zeitgeist of Pokemon for once. And I'm not talking the same way as, and I'm not talking about it in the sense of like, they're gonna be like, neck and neck half the time. I'm talking about it as they will challenge the actual like presence of Pokemon for once. Like Digimon tried to do that, but they didn't do it as well.
No, Digimon isn't the one that challenged their presence, and even won to an extent. That Digimon was the closest direct competitor to Pokemon, but Digimon is not the one that actually competed with Pokemon.
It was Yu-Gi-Oh!
Went completely on. Yeah, it was Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, but the thing is,
Yu-Gi-Oh! is the only game that has ever been in direct competition with Pokemon ever, and not taken any kind of.
I don't know. Have you heard of Bakugan?
And
added the throwback to childhood right there. Wow.
I would say Bakugan would have been a competitor to Pokemon.
I was just fucking with you.
If it weren't for the fact that Bakugan actually had a good chance to compete with Pokemon. The problem was
I never could
that game is so fucking annoying to play in practice because you actually have to roll the ball.
Oh my gosh. I remember missing so much as a kid. I'd miss the ball and go like, no, my Bakugan.
No, do you want to know what's fucked up? It was actually in the rules that you had to roll the Bakugan. You couldn't place it on the card. That actually would have been an illegal move. And that's why Bakugan flopped. It had nothing to do with marketing. Bakugan had great marketing. It's the fact that Bakugan's core mechanic fucking sucked.
I hated it. I did like Beyblade though. Beyblade was awesome.
Honestly, I never really played it at all. I just thought the little things were cool.
Yeah, they were really cool to collect, I will admit. They were arguably more fun to collect than Pokemon cards, and the only reason why I say that is because whenever I got a new Bakugan, I was excited to see how it unfolded and then refolded, and that shit was always fun to play with. Whereas with a Pokemon card, it was a piece of cardboard.
Yeah,
I didn't care.
Yeah,
that
I
much
never
as a kid.
really got
but
into the.
You get my
I still
point.
don't care that much as a kid. I'd still rather collect a Bakugan than a Pokemon card.
In modern day, I don't feel like they challenge Pokemon in the same way. And I feel like Palworld, if it got its legs and got a good enough production behind it, could actually challenge the zeitgeist of Pokemon itself. And I think that's the one thing that Nintendo is actually freaking about.
And I'm going to make the argument that is not the case, because you actually reminded me of a good argument. Bakugan was ridiculously trending.
Yeah.
Bakugan was also a pretty big competitor to Pokemon, but they flopped, and that had nothing to do with their games, because they did have games, by the way. Nintendo openly endorsed those games, despite the fact that Nintendo had nothing to do with their production at all.
Yeah.
Because those games, because they were a Japanese studio, they tried to hit because they were a competitor to Pokemon. They asked Nintendo if they could use DSs for that, because DSs were the console of the time, to create their virtual games, and they did. Bakugan, as a result, on the gaming platform, was a direct competitor to Pokemon.
Yeah.
And Bakugan never got sued once. And
True.
It's not because that's because Bakugan was on the Nintendo thing. Well, if that was the case, Game Freak still would have sued them, because, like I said, Nintendo's lawyers, Game Freak's lawyers, and even the Pokemon Company's lawyers, because yes, those are 3 different studios, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They all work independently to one another. You could still be under the Nintendo umbrella and sued by Game Freak.
True, but let's be honest. The top dogs are Nintendo.
Bakugan.
Nintendo says it goes.
Bakugan never got sued once by Nintendo, by Game Freak.
You know why?
Pokemon Company. They just didn't get sued at all.
Because they were also on Nintendo consoles. They'd profit either way. And let's be honest, they were both aimed at kids. And let's be honest, kids are mostly going to buy DSs at that point, or their parents are going to buy it for them. So in a weird way, they still get the same result as Pokemon. They're under the Nintendo umbrella.
That argument works until you realize there was a good period of time before the game started getting development under a Nintendo product. Because initially, it was just an anime with some physical product.
Well, yeah, but my thing is this: it doesn't have to be like initially. It can start outside as long as it ends up in Nintendo's hands. It's a good product, you know. It's making money for the big Mario upstairs. But when it comes to fucking Palworld, I don't think it's on Nintendo. It's on fucking PC, Xbox, and fucking what else? It's on like. I think it's on PlayStation. Like, it's not on Nintendo. It's the first thing that could drive Pokemon players away from Nintendo. Oh. Hello?
My argument against that is Nintendo actually wants Palworld on their console. And Palworld has openly admitted they want to be on Nintendo's consoles.
Yeah.
The problem is Palworld wouldn't work on the Switch due to technical reasons.
Exactly.
Palworld has even openly stated that they would aim to be on the Switch too. So if the argument were simply, Nintendo just doesn't have their grasp on them, no, Palworld was openly discussing. They were openly asking Nintendo, hey, can you guys give us some early stuff for the Switch 2 so that way when that does come out, we could potentially port Palworld over to the Switch 2. And Nintendo was in full agreement with that.
To be fair.
So if that were the case, Palworld wouldn't be sued either. Because your argument follows that trend from Bakugan's thing. And Bakugan never got sued once.
True.
So
but I'm just saying,
how do you explain that one?
When it comes to it right now, it's not on any of Nintendo's consoles. Yes. And to be fair, Nintendo at this point probably didn't have anything to really go after them for. Until they got to the fucking Pokeball thing, which has been probably a thing since I don't know how long. But I don't know how many other games have copied it. And yet the only one they're going after is the only one that, if given enough time, I think could actually pose a decent threat to Pokemon.
And yet you were saying, oh, well, this game is still trending and all that.
It is, in a weird way, it's still trending.
If Palworld were, and keep in mind, Palworld's been openly asking to have Switch 2 hardware so that they could get started on that port. Knowing that information, since Palworld is trending in your eye, Palworld would be a great way to advertise the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Because then you could play all of those games on there and Palworld.
Yeah.
Of course, there's going to be people that say, oh, well, you can do that with the Steam Deck. We're going to ignore that argument for now, because let's be honest, people are going to buy this, are more likely going to buy
the Switch. They're definitely buying the Switch 2 more.
Is most likely going to be stronger hardware than the Steam Deck while also having tons of Nintendo exclusives. If that is the case, and Nintendo is seeing Palworld as a potential partner, and they've already said that they are looking at Palworld as a potential partner, why would they still sue Palworld?
In my opinion, I still don't know how those talks have gone. Sure, they may want to be on there, but they could have had a disagreement. We don't know the talks in general. Anything could have really happened. That's really just a he said, they said thing at this point. That's like hearsay.
But that's not...
They said they want to be on there doesn't mean the talks went well. But Nintendo say that it might be they want it on maybe the Switch 2. Doesn't mean they all agreed on how it would get there, what they would do as a price for it, anything like that.
But to know that the Switch wouldn't work
from
a technical standpoint...
Yeah, I know. I'm talking about the Switch 2.
That means that Palworld was tested on the Switch, which
means
Nintendo authorized for the game to attempt development on the Switch.
Yes.
That's the one thing that kind of makes that argument fall apart. No. If it were tested to see if it could work technically on a Switch, that means Nintendo authorized the development of Palworld on the Switch at some point.
Yes.
And that flopped.
Yeah, it
and then
flopped.
Palworld
It did not
requested,
succeed.
hey, can we have the Switch 2 device so we can start development on that, so that way it can release it with the Switch 2?
I'm gonna be honest.
Nintendo, seeing as though they authorized it on the Switch and saw that the Switch just wasn't strong enough to handle it, knowing Nintendo, they're going to authorize that as well, because Palworld is a big thing. If it were to have fallen apart, the only thing that I could see that would cause that fall apart is if the Switch 2 mid-development for Palworld onto the Switch 2 port had to be changed, and as a result, the developer of Palworld would have had to start from programming scratch as a result.
If that's
that is the only potential problem that I could think of.
It could be a thing. We don't know. But my point about it is still this. I do think it was mostly out of malicious intent. Because let's be honest, if the entire reason they could fucking defeat this entire legal argument is they change a circle to a square, that's just being petty at this point, let's be honest.
I'm not saying that would work, like, on paper. I'm saying that could work.
And I'm saying is if that does work, and it could work, and that's a decent possibility, that's still a petty-ass lawsuit. You know? Like, you don't sue just because, oh my gosh, it's a circle, it's not a thing, you should be a cube or some shit. You know, it's still petty. It's just a little petty at that point, you know? Oh my gosh. But, yeah. I think it's actually time we head to actually playing Palworld while we do this.
I was about to bring up other creature collectors that use similar systems, not gonna lie. Because Nexomon, another game that Nintendo has looked at extensively, because Nexomon is a parody of Pokemon that actually gets profit off of its games, actually does use your cube system idea, which is really
it does.
funny.
It does use the cube system idea.
I'm pretty sure it uses the cube system idea. I can't remember what their creature thing is, and Nintendo can't sue Nexomon, and they've never even attempted it.
I'm gonna start a game. I'm going to let it. I'm just gonna call it Silings, and I'm gonna make this online so anyone can join if they wish to join.
Actually, I think I know where the lawsuit is coming. I'm
multiplayer on.
I feel like the lawsuit is not coming from the perspective
my brain.
of Pokemon as a whole.
Oh wait, hey Pi, I'll be right back. Give you a second, Pi. I gotta say hello to everybody.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much.
Going on like a be right back screen, right?
No, I'm saying hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for the raid. How's it going, mate? Okay, shut them out, please. My brain's not working right now. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the raid. Thank you so much for the sick people. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the coffee crew. I sound a little shit right now because I'm still feeling like shit. Sorry, I'm still feeling like shit, everybody. But thank you guys so much for being here. Please go follow them. They are amazing. They are adorable. I can't say their name right now because my brain is not functioning. Hey, how's it going tonight? We're playing some Palworld at its community night. We're also talking about the whole Palworld being sued by Nintendo. It's a whole thing tonight. It's really spicy. It's spicy. I should grab some peppers. Hey, Pi, do you want some ghost peppers?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
I actually just don't like peppers for
really?
the most part.
Oh wow.
Ignoring the spicy flavor to it, I just generally don't like the flavor profile of peppers as a whole.
Understood. Why is the face like holy shit?
I enjoy them if the flavor is subtle, like they're sprinkled in as like a seasoning or something like that. That's when it's fine. When it's like the main flavor that they're bringing, that's when I tend to not like.
What do I think is gonna come from the lawsuit? If I have to be honest,
a good example of that would be green peppers in like a Philly cheesesteak. I love Philly cheesesteaks. I love it when it's seasoned with green peppers. I hate it when green peppers are used as like one of the main toppings of a Philly cheesesteak. You know what I mean? I mean,
I like Philly cheesesteaks even with green peppers, but that's just me. But if I had to say what's gonna happen for the lawsuit itself, I honestly think what's gonna happen is they're gonna sue them, and it's probably gonna eat away at their development time, if anything else. I don't feel like too much will change. I feel like the similarities will be so small, and they could compare it to so many other things that at this point it's just kind of petty. At that point, if they do win, at best they'll have to change the balls to cubes or something, or hell, they'll just do an oval and they'll still be able to do their thing. It's not like it's gonna stop Palworld. At best, it's just gonna slow their development time, and at best, I think that's what they're trying to do.
That actually did remind me, Silence. I do think I know why Nintendo is suing Palworld. Because outside of the whole, the grounds for it, Palworld's catch mechanic functions very similarly to one of Pokemon's games, while also being in an extremely similar kind of like capture thing, to the point where it could seem like it's direct parody for it, and as a result, or not direct parody, but it could seem like they just straight up took Pokemon's coding, and that would give Pokemon a case for it.
Sorry.
And funnily enough, actually, I want you to guess what Pokemon game do you think would give Pokemon grounds to sue Palworld?
I have no idea. I haven't played them all, as you said. I've only played what? Fucking Sword and Shield.
Have you heard of Pokemon Legends Arceus?
Yes.
I feel like Pokemon Legends Arceus is the main reason why Nintendo has grounds to sue, because that came out before Scarlet and Violet, in fact. And Pokemon is currently working on Pokemon Legends ZA.
Oh, yeah.
There's a good chance that mid-development they realized their catch mechanic for those games was most likely a carbon copy Palworld's. Palworld's was a carbon copy of Legends Arceus's capture mechanic. And because Legends Arceus did kind of fit that open world theme and sort of fit that survival niche, that would put Palworld into direct competition with that series specifically. And I feel like that's what gave Nintendo ground to sue Palworld, because Legends Arceus was a developed product. I feel like if Pokemon Legends Arceus came out after Palworld, Pokemon would have no right to sue Palworld. It would actually be reversed. Palworld would have the right to sue Pokemon for it. But because that's not the case, and Legends Arceus came out first, Nintendo does have grounds to sue. Does that make sense?
I'm gonna be honest, I still feel like it's a petty suit, if anything. It's literally, in my opinion, just designed... I think it's designed to delay development of anything until the new Legends Arceus game comes out, and hopefully they can bury Palworld like that. That's my thing. They're trying to bury Palworld
if they're trying to bury Palworld, they don't. If they're trying to bury Palworld, all they have to do is release Legends CA.
That's my point.
Have to sue Palworld.
That's my point. If they sue them, and I'm pretty sure they're suing them to stop development. But let's be honest, if you announce a Palworld huge ass update with a decent amount of content to it, next thing you know, people are back playing Palworld again, which they could have been working on for all that we know. But to all our knowledge is they were working on something, and now they have to stop working because they're still a small team, and now they're getting sued by Pokemon, or by, Nintendo. So in my opinion, I think it's designed to stop Palworld from being able to get enough stuff to find its footing in order to basically release the new Pokemon game before they can release the content. And next thing you know, just bury Palworld like that. I think that's what they're going to try and do.
I think that's a stretch. And the only reason why I think that's a stretch is because of what I said before. If Legends Arceus released after Palworld, Nintendo would be the one on the back foot in this argument. Because at that point, Palworld would have grounds to sue Nintendo. I feel like it's more... Because of that, I feel like it's more of a case of timing on releases than anything.
Because Nintendo has the patience for Pokemon.
Do I think Nintendo should sue Palworld from a moral standpoint? No. And the reason why I say that is because I like the idea of Palworld and other games like Temtem and all that competing with Pokemon to an extent. I know they're not going to win, but I do like the idea of there being some kind of quality control onto Pokemon.
I'm gonna be
And
honest. I think
Nintendo tends to when there's something like that, because that gets their developers to create more trending games. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Fire Emblem took off like crazy, because in the West specifically, because Fire Emblem was already pretty popular in Japan.
Well, my thing
it
is,
took off heavily because of XCOM.
Well, my thing is this. Unintentionally, I think they have just actually, in a weird way, saved Palworld in a weird way. Let's be honest. Now there's more eyes on Palworld. Now Palworld's getting even more attention because they just said, hey, we're just gonna go fuck them up, basically.
Oh my god! You just mentioned... You mentioning that gives me a rough idea of what might actually be happening. I think Nintendo might be doing this intentionally to boost Palworld's PR and keep it relevant.
Possible.
That's a stretch. Okay, that's a stretch.
No. Think about it. Palworld's openly admitted to attempting to use hardware on the Switch too.
I'm just saying it's also a bit of a stretch.
Wanting to use hardware on the Switch too.
Maybe.
And that
I'm not.
There is a marketing tactic that I can't remember the name of them, but there is this one music artist who intentionally gets into like lawsuit battles with creators that he makes music similarly to, when in reality they're trying to bring attention not only to himself but also to his friend who he is taking the music from.
It's like Logan Paul challenging every single. What'd you say?
I feel like that might be the case in this regard, solely because it wasn't long ago that Palworld openly admitted that they couldn't use the hardware on the Switch 1, so they're going to attempt to look into it being used on the Switch 2.
Maybe. I'm just saying, I think it's also a bit of a stretch, let's be honest. It is a bit of a stretch.
It is, don't get me wrong.
But
there are two goals that I could see behind it. One, they could be potentially looking to artificially PR boost Palworld so that it really... They haven't openly admitted to it, but they have said that because Palworld is developed primarily in Japan, and because Palworld trended pretty heavily, Palworld is under the umbrella of notice of Nintendo, and Nintendo would love to get their hands on the development team.
Yeah. Which...
And chances are, if they do take that...
Wait, stream died? What do you mean stream died? Oh no, it's not... It's not dead, sorry. My phone decided, hey, I will die now.
No, it's at a black screen.
What do you mean it's at a black screen?
Yeah.
The fuck?
What? Yeah, it went offline long enough to actually kill the stream. Let me refresh.
Hello?
It's fine for me.
Okay, it's back. But yeah, it was...
Hello? Hello? Like, on my end, everything's working fine. That's the worst part. Is my bitrate that bad? What the fuck?
Is there's an actual chance, knowing how scary Nintendo's legal team is, that they are trying to either artificially boost Palworld in order to boost their sales on the Switch 2, because Palworld being on the Switch 2 would be a huge profit increase for Nintendo in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And they could also be using it to increase their chances of being able to just flat out acquire the studio that created Palworld.
I'm gonna be honest.
Oh no, if they lose the lawsuit, suddenly they need money, and Nintendo has a lot of...
Hi?
Huh?
You stop mid-sentence. Hi?
Oh, my mic does that sometimes.
Oh, okay. You fucking freaked the shit out of me, mate. I thought stream died. I thought I was dead. I thought my career was over. I thought I was burning in hell.
It's okay. I'm looking for a mic replacement. Don't worry. The point is, Palworld, if they do lose the lawsuit against Nintendo, suddenly they're in a position where they need money to continue development. And would you look at that? Nintendo just got a ton of money that Palworld also had. and now they can suddenly buy Palworld. I mean, they could already buy Palworld, but now
It's-
they can essentially do it at a discount while also profiting from the exchange as well.
It sounds like what that family that owns most of Ubisoft's stock is trying to do by literally devaluing Ubisoft.
Essentially, yeah.
Wait, did it just resend me live? Holy shit, what's wrong?
Yeah, I told you it glitched out.
God, what is with my internet tonight?
That's why I'm saying I feel like it's one of those situations that Nintendo is doing. I don't think Nintendo is doing it for the sake of... I feel like they're using a petty reason, sure, but I don't think it's to eliminate Palworld as a competitor. I think it's one of those two reasons.
I'm gonna be honest.
If Palworld is looking to expand to the Switch 2, if it were a case of Nintendo's just trying to kill a competitor, well, they're trying to profit off of the Switch 2 as well. So, like, Palworld would rake them a ton of money just being on the Switch 2. So, I don't... You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. All I'm saying is it's also a bit of a stretch, you know? As like saying the family who owns Ubisoft is purposely making shit games in order to devalue Ubisoft so that family could just buy up the rest of the stocks and to take complete control. You know, it's something you could say is happening, but at the same time, it's also very hard to prove.
Sony waited until Bungie had been devalued by Destiny and by them giving up on Halo before they decided to try to purchase Bungie. Bungie was never an exclusive studio to Microsoft at that point, keep in mind.
No, they waited till Activision got hands on them, and then Bungie just got really bad. Like, apparently, if you look into it, Bungie was the one pushing for most of the monetization, and Activision was holding the back, which is funny as fuck. Like, holy shit, you're doing so badly.
I will be right back because I need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, that's fair, bye. Yeah.
I've played a lot of Destiny, and yeah. It is a whole thing.
I think it's funny as shit, though.
Like, I remember back when Activision and Bungie first split up, like around that time, a lot of people saw, like, Activision as the problem in the Destiny community. They saw it as Activision because of their own not great track record with monetization stuff when it came to, like, COD and all that. But yeah, like, I'd say, like, some of the worst of it was, like, when Bungie was independent.
Yeah. I should have any more wood. What cross of Pokemon and Power players anyway? I think the problem is Palworld has, in a weird way, Palworld is, it's weird to say, but Palworld's actually its first, in my opinion, Palworld is the first actual competitor, and not in the sense of like Digimon that tried to compete and failed. Like, this is a modern day competitor that, if given enough time, could actually be the one that actually puts Pokemon onto like an even playing field. I'm pretty sure a lot of kids play. Think about it, a game where it's basically Pokemon, the only difference is it has guns. I'm pretty sure their mothers and fathers would rather them play this than play fucking, like, Call of Duty or something that's, like, rated M for mature. Throw them on this. Give them... It's similar to Minecraft. It's fucking has a cutesy art style. But at the same time, it has raids and stuff like Monster Hunter. At that point, you know, you could kind of mix enough stuff in there to where... Yeah, develop enough stuff for it, give enough, like... cool characters that I'm pretty sure could be decent competition.
Like I said before, the only problem with that is Pokemon and Palworld are in different genres. Like, I was making a case of Legends Arceus being technically a survivor, but even Legends Arceus has a different pool than Palworld does. And that's the only thing that I could say. If it's a case of, oh well, Palworld's stepping onto their audience, they are not stepping onto Pokemon's audience enough for Pokemon's toes to be like, oh well, this hurts. Because if that were the case, Temtem, who more directly competed with Pokemon in regards to the overlapping audience, Temtem didn't get touched at all.
True. I'm just saying,
and the same goes for Nexomon.
Well, it's also what I consider the variety of what Palworld offers. It's a shooting game. Well, it's also similar to Minecraft. While it's also similar to like Monster Hunter, the fact that you're going out hunting monsters, getting different armor and weapons as you go on. So in a weird way,
Ark.
it's
Ark.
like Ark too. So in a weird way, you don't want to buy your kid. You don't want your kid playing Ark. Give him Palworld. You don't want to give your kid a Call of Duty. Give him Palworld. You know? In a weird way, it's just you know, you can kind of just give. In a weird way, it's like a decent answer for parents, if that makes sense. You know, like you want Pokemon where you just battle Pokemon like the have you always done it, or do I want to give my kid something that he'll have a lot more enjoyment out of by just having him shoot things, having him like go around exploring areas and all that shit. In a way that Pokemon can't, don't do it.
My only argument against that is that it's thanks to specific streamers, it's no hidden fact that Palworld allows you to catch people.
Yes.
And if it is considered a PAL, you can butcher it. Meaning you can butcher and eat people.
Yes.
So that parents are kind of aware of that.
Still, it's either that or give them Call of Duty where someone gets shot in the head every single day.
I feel like, again, if it were a case of, Palworld is directly stepping on Nintendo's toes in that regard, one, Nintendo wouldn't be allowing Palworld to be on their device. If anything, they'd openly welcome
Okay, let's
that,
be honest. Nintendo has
that
Sporn
device-
games on their shit. I don't want to hear that shit. They have Sporn games. Have you seen their hentai list? They have more shit. They have more Sporn on Nintendo consoles than they do on PS5 or PlayStation 4. Look it up. There's more uncensored shit on Nintendo than there is on fucking PlayStation.
Yeah, but like, one, those are Japan exclusive.
Not just Japan. You could buy them here too. Ray could even say this shit.
A lot of those are Japan exclusive, and two, they aren't selling those to kids.
The point is this:
those are on adult stores that you cannot access unless you are on.
They're on the Nintendo eShop.
That doesn't change the fact that you can't. It works like Steam system. If you opt into it on that account, then you can see it. You can't opt into that account as easily thanks to how Nintendo's family plans are set up. If you are not listed as a family account, or not as a family account, but as an adult account on that, you are not able to opt into that.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying you can't say they wouldn't allow stuff like that when they allowed that shit on their consoles. It's one of those things of you can't.
I wasn't making that argument. I wasn't making that argument at all. I was making that argument in the case of parents wouldn't allow their kids to play it because you can butcher people in that respect. Because some parents find that to be too graphic for a kid. I wasn't saying that as a, that's why.
Hello, Plague. Thank you so much for the raid. Man, everyone's raiding me today. Thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing.
That's also kind of a weird argument. Like, why are you going to say that a game of a certain age rating is going to compete with Palworld in that aspect because Palworld practices cannibalism? Like, that's kind of a stretch.
No, my argument is that out of that's probably the least offensive thing compared to all the stuff in Call of Duty, which has like terrorism, this, that, and the other. Like if like most kids are gonna want something that like every fucking hello
care about it all, but
hello,
huh?
Hello.
Stream
died.
Stream die for a bit?
Like fucking the entire router went down. Like holy shit, the router went down.
Well, like I was saying, the most offensive thing, according to parents in Call of Duty, is not their acts of terrorism, funnily enough. It's the fact that they once implied that a child was shot, which I find absolutely hilarious.
Let me find my set. I think what the fuck happened. Like I'm saying, like
that implies that.
What the fuck?
That implies that it is a-okay for Call of Duty to depict people shooting civilians at an airplane terminal, but the moment a child gets shot, it's just way too fucking